you know, some of these issues, because...
Let me finish.
Right.
We, the citizens, are not holding our governments to account. That is what is happening.
That now takes us to the media, you know, because the media also has that responsibility to hold the government accountable to the people.
Yes.
So let's see, have we been able to hold the government accountable enough? Because we'll go back and look at some of the issues that have happened pre-independence, because you highlighted some of those. But if you go, let's start from that general one. Have we done enough holding those leaders accountable to the people?
No, we haven't. We haven't done enough. But you see, I admire the media pluralism that we have, so that you have media that are owned by politicians, you have media that are owned by private investors, you have media that are owned by governments. So the totality of the voices in the marketplace means that at some point, government is held accountable. But it's not sufficient. You have a lot of government media which naturally support government. You have a few private media like yours, which I believe is doing a good job. And there are other media too, which are owned by politicians. But I think that as a group, we could have done better than we are doing. I suspect that part of the reason why we're a bit hesitant might be reasons of ethnicity. Might be we are thinking, well, we fought to bring this democracy about. If we push too hard, if we criticize them very severely, maybe the soldiers will come and disrupt everything and bring back dictatorship. I'm just speculating, because I do not see why we are holding back. I just suspect that that might be the case. But it's not an excuse for us to allow water to keep passing under the bridge. We ought to hold every government to account. If you make promises, election promises, we must tell you to execute those promises. Otherwise, we won't vote for you again.
Okay, let's get your impression of how the media has covered some of the events that happened in the past. Because before independence, which you highlighted, talking about the Constitution now, which a lot of people are still talking about whether or not it was written by the people. But yes, pre-independence, we had the Clifford Constitution of 1922. We had the Richard Constitution of 1746, Macpherson of 51, and then we had the Federal Constitution. But afterwards, we also eventually, if they could flip that and take us to the next one, so we could just see, because immediately after that, we had the independence of 1960, we had the Republican Constitution, and then we had the 1979, which there's a lot of reference about that one and what happened to 1999 Constitution. But the reportage of the media at that time about the Constitution, I think Daily Times also, they had a unique view about the row over the Constitution. All of those conferences that we're talking about now, at the time, they talked about the row over the Republican Constitution. So yes, some thought that if that's not the one, we're talking about the row over the Constitution. So did the media actually focus adequately on those issues that happened at the time? Because some say if we did, we could have gotten the result that the people were requesting, which they're talking about today.
Well, you see, people are focusing on the...
That's the Daily Times.
Particularly the 1963 Republican Constitution, because that Constitution was made by civilians, by Nigerians, after they had acquired independence in 1960. The 1960 Constitution was made in 1959 before independence. So the impression is that 1963 Constitution was the real authentic constitution made by Nigerians who had acquired independence, and that's what they wanted for the country. In the 1963 Constitution, you had 45 items in the exclusive list and 29 items in the concurrent list. And then we gradually increased what from 1963 to 1979 to 1999. Today, we have 68 items in the exclusive list and 30 items in the concurrent list, which means that over time, we have increased the responsibilities of the federal government over and above its capacity to execute. And that is a problem. That's a problem now. You have federal roads that are not fixed. And then you have people who stand on the road, and small boys who stand on the road and try to help fix and collect money from people. You have federal roads where people slow down and armed robbers attack them. Why do you need to keep the roads that you cannot fix? You have federal hospitals in states that are taken care of by state governments, which are not able to do well. You have federal universities. I remember a few years ago, the University of Uyo, which is a federal university, was 35 courses were de-accredited, and the state governor spent money for the re-accreditation. And I asked him the question, I said, why are you doing this? It's a federal university. He said, because the university is located in my state, and most of the students who are there are from my state. That's anomalous. Look at, I went through Eleme Road to Port Harcourt last week. That road is horrible. And that road has Eleme Petrochemical. It links two of Nigeria's 4 refineries. It's impassable. It's impassable. So you look at all of this and say, is it worth, why does the federal government hold on to all this and it cannot execute? Why don't you give? My thesis is if you give some more responsibilities and money to the state governments, they will perform better. Why will they perform better? Because the citizens can always go to the state house and carry placards. You can't go to Aso Villa. You can't enter. It's an impregnable fortress. You can't enter. So even if that is the only reason, you can see people go to the state houses and carry placards and something happens. The power of placards is very important in a democracy.
That's a fine place to anchor. We've been speaking with Mr. Ray Ekpu, a veteran journalist, a columnist. He's been there, seen most of it. We appreciate your coming on this morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you.
Well, we'll be back in a moment and still focus on our quest for nationhood. Do join us again.